When my dad introduced us to people, he only ever said, "This is Lena, our future lawyer." If I was there, I became, "And this is her sister." No name, no context, just a vague shadow in the corner. I used to think maybe I imagined it. Maybe I was being sensitive. But then came the graduation party 2 years ago, Lena's high school graduation. The whole family showed up in pastel colors and stiff smiles. My name wasn't even on the banner. And when my father gave his speech, he said, "To my one and only star," I was standing 3 feet away. At some point, I stopped arguing. I stopped asking why they didn't post my college acceptance, why they never came to visit, why every holiday card had a new photo, without me in it. I remember staring at a Christmas photo they sent out. They were all wearing red, even the dog. And where I used to be? It was Lena, centered, holding the dog, flanked by our parents like they were the perfect nuclear family. They didn't crop me out. They retook the photo. No one said I was disowned. No one declared it, but I learned how people disappear without funerals, how you can be erased, politely. My name is Isla Morgan. And if you ask my father, I don't exist. The email came on a Tuesday. It wasn't from my family, of course not. It was from the alumni office at Easton University, the school Lena and I both ended up at, just in different lifetimes. Subject line, "You're invited. Class of 2025 commencement highlights." I almost deleted it. I don't usually open emails with confetti headers, but something about the preview caught my eye. Special guest, featured keynote investor to be revealed at ceremony. Investor? I clicked, scrolled past smiling students. Past donation links and parking instructions, until I saw it, a blurred-out silhouette labeled CEO of one of the fastest-growing rural medtech startups in North America. Unconfirmed, but heavily rumored to be me. My heart didn't know whether to race or stop. No one knew I was behind the company. I built it quietly, behind a pseudonym, through angel funds and clinical partnerships. I didn't want recognition. I just wanted distance, until now. A few hours later, a second email landed in my inbox. This one wasn't meant for me. It was a chain of forwarded messages between my aunt and the rest of the family. Photos of Lena's cap and gown, a catering, menu, seating charts. Then one line from my father. "Make sure Isla doesn't hear about it. Last thing we need is a distraction on Lena's big day." Distraction. That word hit harder than any insult ever could. They didn't just forget me. They planned around my absence, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel sad. I felt something colder, sharper. I wasn't going to crash her graduation. No, I was going to own the room next door. I sat in the dark for a long time that night. No lights, no music, just the hum of my refrigerator and the soft glow of my laptop. Screen. Their words looped in my head like background noise. Make sure Isla doesn't hear about it. She'll ruin it. She always finds a way to make it about herself. And I believe them, not all at once. Not like a lightning strike. More like erosion, slowly, over years, until you're no longer sure where you end and their voices begin. Maybe they were right. Maybe I was the problem. I thought about that Christmas I didn't come home, the birthdays I let pass in silence, the unanswered texts from cousins who didn't know what to say. I thought about how I never told anyone about the company I built, how I filed every legal document under an alias just to avoid being linked back to them. Maybe that was selfish, or maybe it was self-defense. Even now, I wasn't sure. I stared at my reflection in the black laptop screen. Tired eyes, half-tied. Bun, hoodie with my startup logo no one recognized. The girl they called a dropout. The girl who walked away. No one ever saw me the way I wanted to be seen, and if no one sees you, do you really exist? The next morning, I opened my laptop again, logged into our investor portal. There it was, confirmation, Easton University, commencement. Keynote slot, confirmed, name to be announced. I hovered over the box labeled display name, typed 3 words, then clicked save, Isla Morgan, CEO. It started with a noise, a rustle from the back of my kitchen drawer. I wasn't looking for anything in particular, just a takeout menu or maybe batteries. But my hand brushed against paper. I pulled it out. A crumpled lunch receipt from 5 years ago, faded and bent at the corners. The ink had nearly vanished, but I recognized the handwriting on the back immediately. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. My mother's handwriting. She used to leave little notes like that, on mirrors, inside books, folded into my coat pockets during winter exams. She died when I was 19. She never got to see what I built. She never saw me rise. But that sentence? It was like she timed it for now. The same day, I got a message from Owen, my CTO. Investor Summit is locked. Same campus, same weekend. We're going. You in? I stared at the message for a long time. That's when I remembered something else. Lena's graduation would be across the quad from the summit. Same university, same date, same hour. It felt poetic. Like someone had drawn a perfect circle, and I'd been invited to step inside. I opened 2 tabs, one for the summit itinerary, the other for Easton University's graduation ticket portal. Under guest name, I typed in a pseudonym. Reserved 1 front row seat. I didn't plan to speak. I didn't plan to cause a scene. I just wanted to watch. Not her. Them. The people who erased me. I wasn't going to reclaim my place at the table. I was going to own the building next door. The university confirmation email landed at 2:07 a.m. sharp. My seat at the Investor Summit, confirmed. My front row ticket at the graduation, confirmed. 2 separate worlds, 1 campus, 1 weekend, and I had a foot in both. I didn't use my real name on the graduation ticket, just a monogram variation. I didn't want attention, not yet. I wanted proximity. I wanted to see my father's face when he realized the ghost he buried could still walk into a room unannounced. The morning of the trip, I packed light, a blazer, 1 black dress, and a pair of low heels I hadn't worn in years. The same pair I wore when I pitched my startup to a panel of investors who didn't even ask if I had a college degree. Spoiler, I didn't. But I had numbers, and a plan, and a reason. On the train ride to Easton, I passed the old science building, where I used to sleep between classes, where Lena once told her friends I was just a dropout who followed her around. Now, my name was quietly circulating in the summit program. When I arrived, the usher at the graduation gate scanned my ticket and smiled. This seat was requested early, reserved front row. Looks like someone really wanted you here. I smiled back. I guess they did. I sat down. 3rd seat from the aisle. The sun hit the back of my neck as the students filed in. No one noticed me. Not yet. But I noticed everyone. And behind me, I heard the sound of my father's voice. Low. Commanding, talking to security. My father was pacing near the entrance, talking to someone with a clipboard and a radio. His tone wasn't raised, but it was sharp, controlled. The kind of voice he used when he was about to remove someone without ever raising a hand. I kept my head down. He didn't look at me, not directly, just scanned the rows with that same disappointed squint he used on me the day I left for good. The usher walked over. Ma'am, can I confirm your name for the seating log? I handed her the ticket. She nodded, smiled, moved on. 2 rows ahead, my sister was seated with the graduates. Caps. Perfectly tilted, gown pressed to perfection. She looked the same, maybe colder, maybe more polished, but I knew that expression, the one she wore when she was performing. She was always good at playing the part. A professor passed by, stopped, glanced at me twice, then did a double take. Wait, he whispered. You're Isla Morgan, Metasphere, right? I didn't answer, just smiled lightly. I read your case study on telemedical infrastructure. Brilliant work. He said it just loud enough for 2 people in the row behind me to turn their heads. Across the quad, the university banners fluttered. The loudspeakers clicked on. The ceremony was about to begin. Behind me, my father spoke again, this time louder. She's not supposed to be here. She's not on the list. I didn't flinch. Let him look. Let him squint and fume and search. Because the girl he thought he'd erased? She didn't exist anymore. Only the woman in the front row did. And soon, the whole school would know her name. The investor summit was scheduled to begin 40 minutes after the graduation ceremony. Across the quad, inside the glass auditorium, my company's name was already displayed on rotating banners. Metasphere Health, closing keynote. How one startup quietly changed everything. I slipped away during the third speech, just as Lena's department head took the podium. My seat was empty before my father could realize I'd been right in front of him. Backstage at the summit, my assistant handed me the final slide deck. All set. They still don't know it's you. Even the dean thinks the CEO is some reclusive Harvard type. I nodded, flipping through the slides. Data, metrics, projections, all solid, all clean, but something was missing. I opened the file, hovered over the final slide. The closing screen just said, "Thank you, plain, safe, forgettable." I deleted. It typed a new title. Isla Morgan, Easton University, class of never. Then underneath, smaller, "You erased me." So I built something permanent. My assistant glanced over my shoulder and blinked. That's bold. It's honest. She didn't argue. I took one last look at my reflection in the screen. Hair tied back, no makeup, just a black blazer, and a name they tried to silence. Outside, I heard clapping. The graduation must have ended. Inside, they were introducing the keynote. Please welcome the founder and CEO of Metasphere. And somewhere in that same moment, while cameras clicked and heads turned, Lena's professor leaned toward her and whispered something. Her eyes widened. And I walked out into the lights. The lights didn't feel hot. The stage didn't feel high. I didn't feel small. I stepped into the spotlight with no script in hand. Just my name, finally my real name, on the projector behind me in bold white. Letters, Isla Morgan, CEO, Metasphere Health. For a moment, no one clapped. Not because they weren't impressed, but because they were connecting dots. Whispers started first. Then phones came out. Then the room, quietly, breathlessly, realized they'd been quoting my work for years without ever knowing who wrote it. I cleared my throat. I built Metasphere because no one in my family thought I could finish anything. And they weren't entirely wrong. I didn't finish college. I didn't finish Thanksgiving dinners. I didn't finish being the daughter they wanted. Pause. But I finished this. Click. Next slide. A map of our rural health expansions. Small towns, empty clinics, now pulsing with access and infrastructure. Click hospitals we'd partnered with. Lives we'd already changed. Click, a grainy photo. Me, 6 years ago, soldering prototype wires in my dorm hallway. No lab, no funding, no applause. I looked out over the audience. Industry leaders, university trustees, professors, students. In the third row, seated beside a junior faculty member, was Lena's professor. His eyes widened. He turned to Lena, still in her cap and gown, then back to the stage. "You didn't tell me she was your sister," he said, just loud enough for the mic to catch. Lena stiffened. He turned back to the stage. "Nice work, CEO." And that was the moment. Not the applause that followed. Not the standing ovation. Not even the emails I'd get later that night from people who once ghosted me. It was that one line. From the one person she wanted approval from. The one moment she couldn't control. The one sentence that didn't belong to her. I didn't look at her directly, but I knew she was watching. And I knew my father was somewhere behind her, seething. I didn't need to say a word to them, because the truth had already spoken. And this time, it had a microphone. I left through the back entrance. No press, no photos, just the echo of applause, still humming in the glass panels behind me. I didn't wait for congratulations. I didn't linger for the reception. I didn't need to. By the time I reached the hotel lobby, my phone had already begun to buzz. 37 unread messages, 6 missed calls from unknown numbers, and 1 text from my cousin. "Was that you on stage?" Dad nearly choked. I didn't. Answer. I didn't need to. A clip of the moment had already gone viral. The line, "Nice work, CEO," was being replayed, quoted, subtweeted, reshared. And in every repost, there I was, standing at the podium with nothing but my name and the silence I'd carried for years. I didn't post about it, didn't tag the university, didn't mention my sister, but I knew they saw it, because hours later, Lena's graduation photo disappeared from my father's Facebook page, replaced with an old quote about humility. Classic. My sister didn't tag anyone either, didn't post her usual "thank you to my amazing family" caption. Just one filtered photo, no smile, no context. I didn't speak to them, didn't return their silence with noise, but they heard me. In the halls where my name had been erased, in the rooms where they never expected me to walk again, in the voices of others, professors, students, strangers, who now said the name they once tried to bury, Isla Morgan, CEO. Not their shame, not their burden, not their failure, just the woman who walked in, stood tall, and didn't look back. The Monday after the summit, my inbox was full again. Not from venture capitalists. Not from press, from family. Not directly, of course. That would require acknowledgement, accountability. No, these came wrapped in polite curiosity. A message from my second cousin. "Hi, Isla. Long time. Just saw the keynote clip. Wow. Any chance you're hiring interns this summer?" An email from my father's college friend. "Greg mentioned you started something in healthcare. Would love to connect. Our son just graduated and is looking for opportunities." And then the boldest of them all, a message from Lena's boyfriend. We'd met once. He barely said hello. Now, didn't realize Metasphere was yours. Truly impressive. Let me know if you're ever building a legal team. No mention of Lena. No apology. Just doors opening. The same ones they tried to shut. In my face a decade ago, I didn't respond to most of them. But I did forward one message to my assistant. Put this one on the not in this lifetime list. She replied with a thumbs up and a smiling skull emoji. The irony wasn't lost on me. They called me a dropout, said I'd be lucky to keep a desk job, warned me not to embarrass the family name, and now, they wanted desk jobs from me. They didn't see the moment I became their cautionary tale. But they would remember the day I became their missed opportunity. And the best part? I never raised my voice. I just raised the bar. They pretended I was nobody. Not with slurs or slams or screams, but with silence, with empty chairs, with group. Photos that somehow always cut off right where I had been standing. They didn't erase me violently. They erased me like you erase pencil, soft, quiet, deliberate. Until even I started to wonder if I'd ever been written there at all, and when I finally walked away, no fight, no final words, they treated it like relief. Like the family had been set right again. For years, I let them keep that version. Let them believe I'd faded. Let them sit in rooms and say things like, "We haven't heard from Isla in ages," as if I were a distant relative instead of a daughter, a sister, a soul they'd chosen to forget. But the truth never stays buried, not when it builds something that speaks louder than blood. This time, they couldn't hide behind silence. My name was printed on brochures, quoted on news sites, echoed in keynote speeches. They couldn't scroll past it, couldn't pretend they didn't see, and that was the quiet revenge. I never once asked to be welcomed back. I just made sure that, everywhere they turned, I was already there, not as the girl they dismissed, not as the failure they whispered about, but as the woman they now had to Google, the one with her own legacy, and no matter how hard they tried to look away. This time I was unforgettable. I never went back to the house, not even when my father sent word through a cousin, something about putting things behind us and family being family. He didn't mean apology, he meant image control, and I wasn't interested. There was nothing for me there, not the room with the peeling wallpaper, not the shelf where my childhood trophies used to be, not even the garden my mother once tended, now overgrown and bitter in the summer heat, but I did return, just not the way they hoped. I returned in every hallway that now echoed with my name. In clinics across the country using our tech, in classrooms quoting my early research, in whispers between professors and board members who once barely saw me. They couldn't take credit for me. They couldn't even understand me. And that was the final gift. I'd become something they couldn't hold, couldn't rewrite, couldn't reshape to suit their comfort. A professor from Easton sent me a handwritten note. He said, "We've added your keynote to our ethics curriculum under legacy and resilience." Legacy. Funny how that word used to feel heavy, like something I wasn't allowed to touch. Now, it was mine. Voiceover, final shot. They pretended I was a distraction, a mistake, an empty chair at the wrong table. But when they buried me in silence, I came back with something louder. I came back with truth. Fade out. Music swells. Black screen. White letters, IASLA. Morgan CEO Unforgettable.